Welcome to My Two Cents, a Star Citizen Addicts Anonymous production. Today, we're going to be speaking about death in Star Citizen. This is a video that I've had in mind for quite some time, but it's also one that I fear doing because I don't want to stir the pot, bring up a whole bunch of negative comments about the game itself, and start a war between different sides of people that might think this feature that we're going to talk about is good and others that might think it's just over the top. Now, I've already talked about certain things in the game that really piss me off. And one thing is how long it takes for me to get out of Iraq and into my ship. Now, that's easily taken care of in the future because we'll have our own homesteads. You'll be able to log off in your ship reliably and log back in. And on this day where I am right now, I had actually just played too long and went into the rack and logged off, and I came back on the next day and I was right in the same asteroid field that I logged off, and it was really great. Eating, drinking, controlling hunger and thirst, those things, they annoy me in Conan, they annoy me here. It's not that I don't think they're good elements in the game. I think that they're implemented incorrectly right now because they're just thrown at us with no way to put that physicalized inventory in our ships right now so I could have a whole bunch of water and a whole bunch of food just sitting on my ship, so if I do get hungry, I could just eat it. Now, I understand how they have to implement that first, and then iCache comes and physicalized inventory, and all that is honky-dory, and I'm fine. The game itself has challenges, right? And CIG has to manage those challenges over time. And I'm going to talk about a whole bunch of things before we come back into this. The first big challenge is the economy and how they keep the economy going, what they do to manage that economy. And if you think about games like EVE Online, they have a doctor in charge of the economy, a real live economist that's in charge of it. Now, why do I say this? Because in most MMOs, runaway inflation happens because people are able to make millions and millions and millions of credits or gold or silver, whatever the currency might be. And as they make more and more and there's less and less ways to pull that currency out of the game, prices just keep going up and up and up. It's happened in EverQuest, EverQuest 2, it's happened in WoW, it's happened in Dark Age of Camelot, it's happened in Star Wars, The Old Republic, it happens. So in this game, we have insurance, but then they did LTI, which kind of removed that. So they started the whole thing that LTI was just for the hull and not for the equipment that you put on there. So you're still going to have to buy insurance. You're going to have landing fees. You're going to have maintenance, wear and tear. And eventually your ship is just going to be too old to keep in service or would have had too much damage over time that's been repaired, that the frame has now been overstressed, and you have to buy a new ship. Now, me buying a new ship, that sounded quite bad to me at first because we're going to name these ships, which is coming in the next patch. We're going to have serial numbers for these ships, which is coming in the next patch, and you're going to want to keep them as long as you can. But they have to remove money from the economy somehow, so having us pay for maintenance and replacement of those ships eventually is a way to pull money out of the account so the economy doesn't go, I'm going to say the word, tits up. But then we take a look at us, the player in the game, and I want to say this. I've been back in the game for 5 days. You have to know my mental position right now. And I had to think about why I wasn't playing the game, and I had to get my motivation to come back, and I realized I'm a little bit depressed. COVID fatigue has set in, And I'm doing a job that I was never hired to do because I can't do the job that I love to do and I was hired to do. And I'm doing something that I really despise and hate but do very, very well. And I have no control. So the games I was playing, I said this before, tended to be games where I had control. And those games are like city builder games and Satisfactory, things where I get to build things and I get to be the god and make the decisions, civilization, whatever it might be. In real life, we don't have control. When we escape into our games, we gain control. Chris is trying to make this a realistic universe. And it's his vision, and when we come into Star Citizen, we're stepping into his vision, not ours. So we have to see where our needs of a game, our desire to play a game aligns with his. And Death of a Spaceman is definitely one that does not align with my way that I want to play a game. When I play a game, I want to have an escape. I don't want to have the consequences of real life affect my gameplay. And Star Citizen is becoming so realistic in the features that they're building into it that it's going to start falling into that realm of not being fun for me because of certain things that are coming to the game. Death of a Spaceman is an amazing work, amazing feature that they could put in there for people that don't mind building a character, dying, losing stuff every time they die, losing health, degradation of your DNA, degradation of the lifespan of the body parts. So you come back, you might not be able to regenerate an arm, so you have a prosthetic. It's bringing in those elements of real life, which Chris thinks are awesome, but the average gamer is trying to escape from. The consequences that your actions are going to have. And I'm going to give you a for instance. In the course of the last 2 days, I've died 7 times. I showed you one in the last episode. It was totally my fault. I walked away from the controls of the ship, went to go get a cup of coffee. My ship had nosed down because there's still no freaking autopilot in the game to keep me on a flat line or on a course, and it just dived into the ground. I was out getting boxes for one of the Xeno threat incursions and accidentally brushed up against a piece of metal and cut myself and bled out because I had run out of medical pens. So, I mean, that was my fault, but I died there. I was out doing one of these claim jumper missions, and it is in a really, I would say, super realistic lighting, where it was so far away from the Stanton, the star, that the opposite side of the asteroids were pitch black, and I didn't see them, and I actually bumped into one and exploded, and so on and so forth. And I realized that that was in the course of 3 days. I've died 7 times. 3 days, I've died 7 times. So what Chris wants us to do is every time we die, we have a choice. Do we get our friends? Do we get somebody else to come and get us, to get our body, to bring it to a hospital? Or do we allow our DNA to be put into a clone and us to be regenerated that way? And over time, the more we do that, the DNA degenerates, eye color changes, features change, possibly it can't regenerate an arm, so we have a prosthetic, to the point where eventually we can't revive. We can't regenerate into a clone like Doctor Who. Well, that's totally different. And we have to start playing a different character. And that new character is going to have the sins of the father, which means whatever the reputation, good or bad, whatever the crimes, good or bad, befall upon the legacy of that original character. No control. Now, I sound salty about this. I'm not. It's just I'm pointing out that there's so much of the game that I like that when that gets added into the game, I'm really going to have to play it through to see how it works. But I'm telling you, that first night that I was in EverQuest, so many years ago, and I got into level 10 and some idiot led me into Kithakor Forest where I died, and I just gotten all this great equipment from somebody else, and I had to sit there forever trying to get a necromancer to drag my corpse to me. It took me hours. I don't want that type of gameplay. I didn't play EverQuest for long. I don't know if I would play Star Citizen for long if that same experience is in this game. And it saddens me to think that, because there's so much good here, so much exceeding, so much that I have been waiting for forever. And I'm not saying that there shouldn't be consequences for death in this game. That would be crazy for me to think that. But to think that 2 years from now I'm on my 5th character is scary and disheartening. And that's not 2 years from now. That's 2 years from whenever they implement Death of a Spaceman. Now, I know Chris has this vision. He has the right to. This is his game. We signed on to it. We gave our money for it, and we had to know what was coming. I always knew this was going to be part of it. But it's no different right now than the crime system, right? Which is actually easy to get past. I was just taking part inside of one of the Xenothreat incursions. Accidentally was shooting at an arrow. Nope, that arrow was definitely 100% a Xenothreat. Accidentally shot at it inside of the armistice zone and got a crime stat. So I had to tail it over to Korea, where I sat annoyed, pissed off that I had to do this, and loving every minute of it. Yeah, I know. Those are contradictory feelings. But it is what it is. And I'm going to say, this is one of my deaths. I got through going all the way back to Korea, waiting literally for what seemed like an eternity just to crack into the database, and then a short time to actually exonerate myself from the crime I had committed, which was protecting the Javelin and accidentally shooting one of the attackers inside the armistice zone. And I actually had a good time doing this. The actual on your seat tension that you feel as you're standing here wondering if some bounty hunter is going to run in the door and shoot you. And I don't have great armor. I don't have a great weapon. I'm just here on my alt trying to make the best of it. And I got through it. So I only add this piece into it because I don't know. I know that without Death of a Spaceman in the game, it's easy for me to knock it. It's easy for me to fear it. It's easy for me to despise it. And I thought I was going to despise this, removing my crime status. I thought it was going to be the worst thing in the game, and it actually turns out to be a good gameplay element, even though I hate it. I know, contradictory feelings again, but it makes sense to me, and there are consequences for my actions, even though they're idiotic and they need to be tweaked a little bit so I don't get in trouble for shooting an enemy in an armistice zone. But those things could be worked out over time. I believe in the beginning, when Death of a Spaceman comes out, it's going to leave a bad taste in many people's mouths. And I think that CIG is going to have to use kid gloves when implementing it. Be ready to have a little bit of open-mindedness to allow some changes to happen, and to use community input to tweak it to where it's like this. It's a consequence and it doesn't hurt as bad as you thought it was going to. Those are my thoughts. I don't know what else to say. I really am weary about this, and it is something that I know is coming, and I know it is an integral part of Star Citizen. And I'm sure 5 years from now, when we're playing the game, that's me knocking wood, and that is implemented, that it's going to seem like, oh, wow, I can't believe that I was upset about this. But right now, all I see are all the bad ways this has been implemented in the past. And I'm hoping Chris is able to implement this in a way that it makes us feel like it really is a necessary part of the game. But until I see that, yeah, I'm going to be a little bit weary about the day it gets implemented. All right. If you like this video, please click that thumbs up button below. Please leave the comments in the comment section below. And because this one is going to be a little bit controversial, please keep the comments civil. If you are a subscriber, please click that bell-shaped icon below so you get notified of all my future videos. And folks, I do have a Patreon. I probably am going to hold off saying that again until I have out my 15th video in a row. But I just want you to know that I am back. I am doing videos, and I really appreciate all of you that have been commenting on my return. And I promise you, this one is not just for a short while. This is me taking full charge of my channel again. And with that said, you all be safe out there, and I will talk to you soon. Bye. You gotta be kidding me. Somebody blew up my ship? Shit. Only one thing to do.